In a world where JRPGs had only just been invented, one game came along to try and steal Dragon Quest's crown. This game had a troubled history. The developer, Square, was reluctant to commit development resources to the project, as they didn't think such a game would sell particularly well, but the surprise success of Dragon Quest, known as Dragon Warrior in the States, changed this, and development began in earnest. Leading up to release, it was discovered that the chosen name, Fighting Fantasy, couldn't be used due to a series of choose-your-own-adventure D&D crossover books already using the trademark. Coupled with Square's impending bankruptcy, making it possible that this would be the company's last game ever, the name Final Fantasy was chosen, and the game was released on December 18, 1987. It looked and played pretty well, following the standards and tropes of the time, and obviously went on to be the first in an enormous line of successor titles, each of which was also brilliant in their own right. But we're not here to talk about Final Fantasy. You see, just 2 days after the first Final Fantasy was released, on December 20th, 1987, Sega released a game that instantly made Final Fantasy I look completely out of date. Set in the Algol star system, Phantasy Star kicked off an incredible series of games, all of which are some of my favourite games ever. Phantasy Star featured a female protagonist, an incredible rarity for the time. You play as Alice, and you're on a roaring rampage of revenge to destroy the evil king who killed her brother. It featured a unique plot for the time, being not a medieval swords and sorcery setting, but a futuristic high-technology one. There are swords, shields and armour, yes, but the swords are titanium or other high-tech composites, and even a literal lightsaber, along with advanced laser guns. Armour is made of plastics and metals, or the Phantasy Star setting's version of unobtainium, Laconia. And shields are just as high-tech. You start the story alone, exploring Palma, the first planet of the Algol star system. You soon gather companions, however. The wizard Noah, the warrior Odin, and your own little adorable ball of death, Meow the Muskcat, all of whom join you to take the cruel King Lassic down. After a very long adventure, taking you to 3 separate planets via rocket, the desert planet Matavia, infested with antlions, and the frozen wilderness of Dezoris. You obtain all the items you need to finally reveal the location of Lassic. And your final battle begins. Or at least what you think is your final battle. The game's random encounters have large enemy sprites, all of them animated, spread across a wide variety of backdrops, all relevant to the terrain you're on. Magic spells can be used as well as physical attacks. And the game features 3D first-person dungeon mazes for you to explore, as well as huge 2D overworld maps. These impressive dungeons were coded by a young programmer who would go on to create quite a few more impressive games for Sega, but today is P, not S. I can't do Phantasy Star justice in just 2 minutes. If you haven't played it, definitely check it out, but we have to leave the first game there because just over a year later, on the newly released Mega Drive console, Phantasy Star 2 was the first RPG of any kind that I played, and it's a heck of an upgrade over its 8-bit predecessor, impressive as the first game was. Although the first-person dungeons are gone, replaced by a labyrinthine multi-level 2D ones instead, and the battle backgrounds are now just a high-tech grid of some sort, as if you're fighting monsters in virtual reality, but I digress. 1,000 years have passed since Alice defeated Lassic, and things have changed a great deal. A system-wide computer network called the Mother Brain has managed every aspect of people's lives for centuries, and the population has become lazy and carefree as a result. You can see where this is going. On Matavia, the desert planet, a giant atmospheric system called Climatrol has transformed the desert into a lush, fertile world where food enough for everyone is grown in automated domed farms, and a bioengineering laboratory has genetically engineered life forms that can thrive here, providing even more plentiful food. But something's gone wrong. Nobody seems to be answering the phones at the Biosystems lab, and it's churning out dangerous biomonsters that are attacking people everywhere. Mother Brain insists that everything is fine, and Mother Brain never makes mistakes. This is where you come in. You're a government agent called Rolf, and you've been given a secret mission to infiltrate the lab and bring back its data recorder, so the truth of what happened there can become known. Accompanying you on this mission is your ward, a young girl called Nai, who you found on the streets almost a year ago. Nai doesn't remember very much about her early life, but she's clearly not fully human, a fact which has made her an outcast her entire life. She escaped from the Biosystems lab when she was very young, and was hunted and mistreated ever since, until Rolf rescued her and gave her a safe home. After a long journey through cities, towns, dungeons and forests, helped immensely by Nai, who is the deadliest fighter in your group. Despite her low defense stats, she's the fastest and the hardest hitting character you have, and can often take out 2 of the random encounter monsters in her opening move. You finally reach the Biosystems lab and discover it full of incubation tubes, full of biomonsters. You retrieve the recorder and bring the data back to Central Tower, but now your mission gets far more dangerous because it's discovered that the biomonsters were planned, and a massive transfer of energy from Climatrol to the Biosystems lab was needed to create so many of them so fast. You, Nai, and the ragtag misfits you've picked up along the way set out to Climatrol Tower to attempt to find out who was responsible for the energy transfer. And you find the culprit was none other than Nai's twin sister, who despises the scientists at the lab for creating her as a mixture of human and biomonster DNA. She escaped just like Nai, but unlike Nai, she set out to plan revenge on all humans for what they've done. Nai fights alone to stop her, and the outcome is predetermined before you even make your first strike. I just have to pause the review here to say that Nai is my favourite character from any video game, and her particular story is one of the saddest in any medium. 8 years before Aerith meets her fate in Final Fantasy VII, we have a character that we've fought with and travelled with for months suddenly and permanently dead. I wasn't expecting it as a 10-year-old, and it was an utterly unprecedented plot twist to appear in a 1989 video game. 30 years after playing this for the first time, I went out and got a tattoo of the most badass chick in video games. But, all sadness aside, at least you defeated the biomonsters now, right? I mean, they're all dead, they're all gone. Not a chance, you're only a third of the way through the game. After this immense uphill slog, Mother Brain declares you and your friends to be criminal outcasts for destroying the lab and Climatrol and sends government robots after you. And you've just lost your hardest hitter. Making matters worse, billions of tons of water are pouring out of the destroyed remains of Climatrol Tower, years worth of rain supply, and the lake is threatening to burst and flood the entire continent. The rest of the game takes you through the 4 dams blocking the rivers, onto a prison satellite, and over to the icy world Dazorus, where you meet someone who fought with Alice once 1,000 years ago. It turns out that when Alice defeated Lassic, something else was not quite dead. And then you've got Mother Brain to kill, because it turns out she never did make any mistakes. Everything she did was very well planned indeed, and it was all a giant conspiracy to make the people of the Algol system so meek and docile that they would be easy to conquer by her masters, a race of warlike aliens from a far-off planet called Earth. This video has already gone on far too long, so I'll just briefly mention Phantasy Stars 3 and 4 here. They both take place at roughly the same time, 1,000 years after Phantasy Star 2, but widely separated from each other in space. Phantasy Star 3 was developed by a different team, and it shows. This one is the game that fans of the series love to hate. It looks different, it feels different, and it's firmly a medieval-style adventure at first glance. However, it really is a fantastic game, with an utterly unique story, and it features a generation system that sees 3 successive generations of characters continuing the story to its surprising end. And these characters change based on who you choose to marry the previous generation's main character. It has one of the most amazing plot twists in any game, which completely belies the game's medieval setting. Definitely recommended. And Phantasy Star 4 is the best 16-bit RPG of all time. Fight me. This one needs an entire 10 minutes to itself, so I'll pull a Costado cliffhanger and leave you all there. This is Aiden signing off for now, and now this guy's gonna start talking again. Bye!